Hey there, for Dragonfly and me friends. Welcome to another episode of Gardening 101 with Jean Roman. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for joining me. Generally, what I do when I'm teaching my gardening talks is I create a beautiful PowerPoint and I basically read through that with you, and then I will go into deeper dives with you and letting other little tidbits and tricks, things that I can't write everything. I like to do the PowerPoint where you guys can, if you are interested in, just copy paste or take notes from that, and so that you can have that information for you. But before we get into this, I again want to thank you for joining me, and be sure to smash the subscribe button and the like button, and even better, leave me a comment along with those two other things. YouTube's algorithm is funny, and the more you guys like and comment and subscribe, the more it teaches YouTube that people want to see my stuff. And so I really enjoy being here and talking about gardening and cooking as well. And again, if you're new here, I also put my podcast up here on every Wednesday, and I try to put daily content out for you guys, whether it be Jean in the kitchen or Jean in the garden. But today we're talking about gardening, and we're going to talk about a nasty little thing called a tomato worm. So if you're a gardener, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Slideshow, and there we go. Welcome to For Dragonflies and Me, tips and tricks for the home and garden. So today's topic is Gardening 101, 10 organic methods to eliminate tomato worms and keep your garden healthy. So we are going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to give you some tried and true tips on how to eliminate worms from your garden, because they will destroy them. So most of us have our tomatoes in the ground now, and the season is on. One of the most frustrating things with gardening are the pests we incessantly seem to be contending with. And I mean, seriously, where do these pests come from, and how do they always seem to find my garden and your garden? So I know I'm not the only one thinking this, but as gardeners, we know that nothing is more frustrating than spending hours tending to our tomato plants only to find them infested with tomato worms. Not to mention they're super gross. These pesky pests can quickly destroy our plants and leave us with a very disappointing harvest. So as an organic gardener, I need to fight the good fight with everything I know. And so fear not, I have plenty of organic methods to share with you to help in the elimination of these nasty little tomato worms and keep your garden healthy. So in today's episode, I've compiled a list of 10 tried and true methods I have personally used to get rid of tomato worms without using harmful chemicals. From planting companion plants, which you all know I love and incorporate in every one of my raised beds, to using homemade insecticidal sprays, which you can find a lot of recipes at my blog. These methods are not only effective, but also environmentally friendly, which we want to be, right? So like I always say, whether you're a seasoned gardener or just a newbie starting out, read on to discover how you can keep your tomato plants healthy and thriving all season long. So that is a praying mantis on my sedum that I took a picture of probably last fall. And I always tell my kids, do not ever kill a praying mantis. They are a gardener's best friend along with ladybugs and a few others. But there's so much value to organic gardening, and this practice focuses on using natural methods to grow plants that are healthy and free of harmful chemicals. So when it comes to dealing with tomato worms, organic methods are the best way to go, in my opinion. Not only are they safer for the environment, but they also ensure that your plants are free from harmful pesticides that can be harmful to your health. So organic methods are also effective. They can help you achieve a bountiful harvest. So we're going to go into a few different things here, topics and ways to get rid of tomato worms. And I am excited to share you first about companion planting. As I have did a blog, which I'll put a link in both here at the website as well as my YouTube channel down in the description below. But companion planting is a key. It is this book, Carrots Love Tomatoes by Louise Riot. It should be every gardener's Bible. This book will tell you what to plant next to something and what to avoid. And one thing I always like to mention is you don't want to plant anything in the allium family, so onions, garlic, with anything in your bean family. So your peas, your cucurbits, your beans, your peas, anything along those lines, because the chemicals that those crops put off into the soil actually hinder the proper growth and production and continued like growth of those certain plants. So that's one basic thing. But what this also talks about is companion planting to deter bugs as well, plus assisting in growing. They are twofold. So companion planting is simply a practice where you plant certain plants together to help them grow better. And when it comes to deterring tomato worms, there are several companion plants you can use. Some of the most effective companion plants include marigolds, basil, and borage. These plants are known to repel tomato worms, and they also attract beneficial insects that can help keep your garden healthy. So another thing you want to plant with your tomatoes is carrots, which hence the title of the book, Carrots Love Tomatoes. They actually help repel the little fly. Oh my gosh, brain freeze. But the little white fly. And then they will also help deter a few other bugs, your aphids. Another thing you want to plant around your tomatoes is garlic and onions. They have the absolute reverse effect on tomatoes as they do your legume crops. I said cucurbits earlier. Sorry, friends. Cucurbits are your cucumbers and squash and whatnot. So your legume crops, your peas and your beans. So you definitely want to plant a border. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but like a border of onions and garlic around your bed, along with the basils and the marigolds. And so I'm going to show you some pictures coming up that you're going to see that very thing from my own gardens. And there it is. So this was my raised bed garden at my previous home. And as you can see, the tomatoes are in the center. I have a hedge of marigolds. So that acts as almost like a barrier, which I'm going to talk about. But then you can't really see them right there because they're the tomatoes, but there are onions also growing in there in the midst as well. But to use companion planting, you simply plant these plants alongside your tomatoes, and you can also plant them in between your tomato plants to create a natural barrier. By doing this, you'll be able to keep tomato worms at bay and ensure that your tomato plants are healthy and thriving. And of course, friends, I have done all of these things. Oh, look at that nasty critter. They actually are quite beautiful, to be quite honest, but I know the damage they do, so they're nasty critters to me. But of course, insects are still gonna, I've heard a lot of people, oh, organic methods don't work. They don't do this, they don't do that. You got to use chemicals. Well, that's not true. It is a deterrent. It's not, nothing is foolproof. Nothing is 100%, but to deter them and to hinder the, if you only get 25% of the infestation rather than 100%, in my opinion, that works. And it's worth, going in. But this is the one that, might kind of like make some of you cringe. Hand picking and removing your tomato worms. Wear gloves. I'm not telling you to do this with your fingertips. But one of the most effective ways to get rid of tomato worms is to hand pick them and remove them from your plants. So tomato worms are easy to spot when they're big. When they're babies, they're a little tricky. And they start out as just teeny tiny little worms. And then if you see them by the time they're like the size of your finger, they've been around and they've done some damage. But you will also be able to tell if you have a tomato worm problem because the tops of your tomato plants will be stripped, literally stripped. You will have the stems and there will be no leaves. It is amazing what they can do in 24 hours if you are not on the lookout. And preventative procedures are looking at your plants every day. Be active in your garden. But they are easy to spot once you find them. It's kind of like they blend in, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's one. And then you start seeing them because they're wiggling around and you can actually hear them munching your leaves. They're so gross. But they have a life service too. I guess they feed birds. So simply pick them off with your hands wearing gloves and drop them into a bucket of soapy water or gasoline. Gasoline is a little less environmentally friendly, but soapy water. And then if you want to flush them down the toilet, this will kill the worms and prevents them from coming back. One other thing that I have done with the babies is I have actually folded the leaf and mashed them and spread the guts and then left that leaf and maybe even touched a few other leaves around. This actually deters other tomato worms because they're like, it's like danger to them. They're smelling like guts, I guess. But handpicking your tomato worms is and can be a time-consuming process, but it is effective. And it's also a great way to get some exercise. Get out there and start picking worms. For me, I used to pay my kids. I know a lot of other people have the same story, but I used to tell my kids, okay, get out there and pick them tomato worms, and I'll pay, 5 cents, 10 cents a quarter, depending on which one it was and how old they were. But they went out there and they picked worms and they got paid to do it. So that's another way. If you have nieces or nephews or your own kids or grandkids or neighborhood kids that want to make a little bit of extra money, there you go. They can pick your tomato worms if you don't want to do it. But if you have a small garden, you can easily hand pick them and with no problem. However, if you have a really large garden, it may take a little bit longer and it might be more, feasible to find another way to get them. But hand picking is a very, very effective way. And there we have some of our friendly little bugs, some ladybugs. So using natural predators is a great effective way to get rid of tomato worms and by using natural predators. There are several insects that are known to prey on tomato worms, including ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps. These insects are natural predators and they can help to keep tomato worms at bay. And I want to tell you guys, I did a companion planting video, and so that you guys can actually go back to that. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll put the link in there. But if you ever see a tomato worm in your garden, and it's a larger one or whatever, but you see like almost like feathers, like little feathers on their backs, don't kill that worm. You can remove it from your garden and put it someplace else, but don't kill that tomato worm, because what that is the parasitic wasp laid its eggs on the back of that tomato worm, and it is its host. So it is going to kill that tomato worm, and you're actually helping to create more parasitic wasps that are your friends. I know they're scary sometimes, but they are your friend. They are a gardener's one of their best friends. So to attract natural predators to your garden, you can plant certain plants that are known to attract them. And some of the best plants you can use are dill, fennel, and yarrow. Marigolds do the same thing. You definitely want to incorporate those as well. These plants are known to attract beneficial insects, and they can help to keep your garden healthy and free from harmful pests. And if you're going to be doing some pickling, well, heck, you definitely want to have dill in your garden. And then fennel, I have some really cool recipes for fennel at my blog for Dragonflies and Me as well, for dragonfliesandme.com. So neem oil is another natural pesticide that is derived from the neem tree. And it is a very effective way to get rid of tomato worms. And it's also safe for the environment. Neem oil works by disrupting the hormonal system in insects, which makes them stop feeding and eventually croak, fall over, and die. So to use neem oil, simply mix it with water and spray it on your tomato plants. The key is to make sure you are spraying underside the leaves. So in your garden, wherever you're doing this, you need to make sure that you are getting up under the leaves as well, because if you look, especially with cucumber beetles, any type of beetle, they lay their eggs on the underside of the leaf. So you may not notice anything until you see them. But pro tip here, if you have found potato bugs, cucumber beetles, or any of these other insects, believe me, they've laid eggs. If you are seeing the adults, they have laid eggs. And you may see them mounting. They are reproducing, and you definitely want to smush those between the leaves and get those guts over your leaves. Big, big deal. So again, you see any of these adult bugs in your garden, be sure to look underneath the undersides of your leaves. If you have a big garden, you're gonna have them. But if you have a small garden and a raised bed garden, this is a very easy thing to do. It's not time consuming, but it is essential, because once those babies hatch, one bug can lay like 20, 30 eggs, and they are going to hatch. So you definitely want to, if you flip a leaf over and you see those, spray it with neem oil, fold it up, smush it, put it in a bag, and put it in your garbage, and don't leave it in your garden. So definitely want to think about using neem oil as your insecticide. You can also use like a homemade soap insecticide, but neem oil kills them. Garlic. We all love garlic. So garlic and chili pepper sprays are another effective way to repel tomato worms. They're not going to kill them. These sprays work by creating a very unpleasant environment for tomato worms to feed on. And they also contain natural insecticides that help to kill tomato worms. It will kill them, but I don't think as effectively as neem oil. To make a garlic and chili pepper spray, you simply mix garlic and chili peppers with water and spray it into on your tomato plants. So you want to use probably like if you have like olive oil, or I'm sorry, not olive oil, like garlic, infused garlic oil, or if you have like minced garlic, using some of that fluid, because if you use it, if it's real chunky, then it's going to clog up your sprayer. But again, you want to spray on the undersides of the leaves, and this will ensure the spray gets to the worms and it gets rid of them. So here we are talking about those physical barriers that we did a little bit earlier on. And this is another effective way to keep your tomato worms out of your garden. You can use floating row covers. To prevent bugs from getting on them. You can also use bird netting to help birds stay off of them and from pecking away. This also actually helps with rabbits too. Physical barriers are effective, but they can be expensive and time consuming to install. And however, if you have a large garden or if you're having a severe tomato worm problem, physical barriers may not be the best option for you. So maintaining a healthy ecosystem to prevent worms is also a key factor in deterring bugs, because quite frankly, unhealthy plants attract attract bad bugs. So earlier on, I said, how do bugs know where to go? But that is one way. If you have a diseased garden, they seem to just know. But this means keeping your soil healthy, using natural fertilizers, and planting a variety of plants. By doing this, you'll be able to create an environment that is not conducive to tomato worms. And maintaining a healthy ecosystem, be sure to rotate your crops. Use compost instead of chemical fertilizers, and plant a variety of plants. And this will help keep your garden healthy and free from harmful pests. Another thing that I use is actually cayenne pepper. This actually helps with rabbits too. I know we're not talking about other critters getting in and out of your garden, but I will do a post on that as well. But cayenne pepper, as long as if you have to reapply it after every rain, but rabbits don't like to bite into something that has cayenne pepper on it, and neither do any insects. Flour, if you sprinkle flour on your potatoes, if you notice that you're getting potato bugs, just simple organic white flour that you cook with, and use it through a sifter and put it on your plants, all your potato plants, it gums them up and they actually suffocate and die. So I know we're talking about tomato worms, but I'm giving you a few extra pro tips here. So tomato worms can be frustrating problem to deal with, but there are plenty of organic methods to eliminate them. From companion planting to using natural predators, these methods are effective and safe for the environment. So by using these methods, you can keep your tomato plants healthy and thriving all season long. And that's what we want, right? We want healthy, abundant plants. So to keep your garden healthy, be sure to maintain a healthy garden ecosystem, handpick those tomato worms, and use natural predators. By doing this, you'll be able to create a garden that is free from harmful pests and full of healthy plants. So get out there and start gardening. Your tomato plants will thank you. I certainly hope you are all encouraged to grow your own food, but don't be dismayed if you don't have a huge yard or big garden to work in. Even container gardening is a great alternative, or raised beds. You can do something. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and leave me a comment. I love your feedback. Did I miss something? Is there a trick that you have used or something that you've used to repel or kill tomato worms that I missed? Please put in the comments. I love hearing from you. We're all gardeners here, and I don't know it all. And you don't know it all, but when we share our tips and tricks together, we can be more successful. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to chat it up with you about the things that I love, cooking and gardening, and they go hand in hand, right? But if you're not following me on Facebook or Instagram, be sure to get over there and follow me, because I have got lots of great stuff. But key thing, friends, please, I admonish you in a very loving way, be sure to subscribe here at my YouTube channel. I'm really trying to grow my following and to be able to provide incredible content to all of you. So thank you in advance. Thanks for joining me. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to visit me at my podcast, at my blog, and of course, my social media platforms for additional daily inspiration for the home and garden. So I'm going to stop sharing And I'm going to thank you again for joining me here. Please, again, if I missed something, if you guys have done something that really helps with tomato worms or any bugs, cucumber beetles, potato bugs, whatever it is, be sure to let me know, and I'll do some research and maybe I'll do a blog about it. So, like I always say, friends, thank you so much for being here, and be sure to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. And I'll see you later in the kitchen or the garden. Bye now.